Eers die derde Sondag het sy 'n troppie gekry waar die kraanse tregter maak, baie ver van die Inkongwane wat Melisane vir haar gebou het. It wasn't until the third Sunday that she found a flock where the cliffs funneled, very far from the Inkongwana Melisane had helped build for her. Sy kon nie wag om uit haar ou hut te trek nie. Dit was 'n malondolo met 'n klei muur en 'n grasdak, maar sy wou 'n Zulu hut hê, 'n Inkongwane. Melisane het haar geterg, omdat sy so aan die ou dinge vashou, maar tog sy maats bymekaar gehaal om watteltakke te gaan sny. She couldn't wait to move out of her old hut. It was a molondolo with clay walls and a thatched roof, but she wanted a Zulu hut, an Inkongwane. Melisane teased her for holding on to the old things like that, but pulled his mates together to go and cut wattle branches. Die mans het die takke in 'n groot kring in die grond geplant en oorgebuig na mekaar toe en met nat pas vasgemaak. Amazolo het onderlangs na Melisane gekyk, terwyl hy sy lyf span teen die wil van die latte. Die meisies het om haar gelag en gesels en haar ook bemny. Toe was sy nog die Amazolo wat almal geken het. Sy het haar hare laat groei vir die hooftooisel wat getroude vrouens dra, en toe dit lank genoeg was, het haar vriendinne dit oor die ligte houtraampie getrek en met gare vasgewerk. Dit het mooi gelyk, nadat dit met rooi klei ingesmeer was, die kegel wat van haar kop af uitgaan. Die groot fees was nie meer baie maande weg nie. The men put the branches in a large circle on the ground and bent them over each other and tied them with wet bark. Amazolo looked at Melisane as he strained his body against the branches. The girls laughed and chatted around her, envying her about him. Then she was still the Amazolo that everyone knew. She grew her hair for the headdress worn by married women, and when it was long enough, her friends pulled it over the light wooden frame and sewed it with yarn. It looked beautiful after being smeared with red clay, the cone going out from her head. The big festival was no longer many moons away. Melisane het teruggestaan en na die vlegwerk van die koepel gekyk en vir die ander gewink. Nou is dit vroumenswerk. Ons gaan ons bier verdien. Hulle het onder 'n boom met die kleipotte gaan sit en kyk hoe die meisies die dekgras vasbind. Melisane stood back and looked at the braiding of the dome and winked at the others. Now it's a woman's work. We've earned our beer. They sat down under a tree with the clay pots and watched as the girls tied the mulch. Aanvat, bind, deursteek. Die groot grasmatte wat oor die hele hut vasgewerk moes word, het een kant lê en wag. Die vloer was klaar vasgestamp en met klein beesmis gesmeer. Take Amazolo's hands touched to tie the grass rope and pierce inside. Take on, tie, pierce. The large grass mats that had been sewn all over the hut lay aside waiting. The floor was finished, cemented and smeared with clay and cow dung. Sy het saam met die ander gesing terwyl sy werk, maar Melisane se oë op haar gevoel. Die geplooide swart romp van beesvel wat getroude vrouens dra, die Isidwaba, het al om haar heupe gehang en daar was meer krale om haar nek as om die van meisies wat nog nie wegbeloof was nie. She sang with the others as she worked, but felt Melisane's eyes on her. Skirt of cowhide, worn by married women, the Isidwaba, was already hanging around her hips, and there were more beads around her neck than around those of girls who hadn't yet been swept away. Almal kon sien dat sy klaar Melisane se was, al het sy nog die spierwit krale gedra, en agter haar rug was die wit doek wat sy met 'n touwtjie om haar skouers vasgemaak het. Everyone could see that she was already Melisane's, even though she was still wearing the pure white beads. Behind her back was a white cloth that she had tied around her shoulders with a string. Melisane was al lank genoeg weg toe haar lyf begin wys en die ou mense met haar begin praat oor die wit wat sy nog altyd dra. Sy het die tarantale dopgehou, totdat hulle diep in die kloofie opgewy het, en toe vir haar 'n wegkruipplekkie gesoek, waar die voëls sou verbykom op pad na hulle slaapplek toe. Melanzane was gone already for quite a while when she started to show. And the old-timers started talking to her about the white she had always worn. She watched the guinea fowl until they grazed deep into the ravine, and then sought a hiding place where the birds would pass on their home to their sleeping quarters. Hulle was al te naby toe hulle begin krr vir die gevaar. Die stok wat sy gegooi het een se nek gebreek en die een krippel laat aansukkel, sodat sy hom agterna kon sit. Sy was nie meer so rat soos vroeër nie. Haar lyf het haar oor die klippe gehinder. Toe sy val, was daar die pyn wat haar lank laat bly lê het, voor sy kon opstaan en teruggaan na die dooie tarantaal toe. Die ander een het in die bosse weggeraak. They were already too close when they started krr for the danger. The stick she threw broke one's neck and caused one to squirm, so she went after it. She was no longer as agile as she used to be. Her body ambushed her over the stones, and when she fell, there was a sharp pain that made her linger for longer before she could get up and go back and go and find the dead guinea fowl. The other one ran away in the bushes. By teen die aand het sy by die huis aangekom en die voël aan sy pote opgehang en hom geslag. Sy het aan die pootkant van die boutjies 'n kring gesny en die taai vel begin aftrek, maklik, behalwe oor die vlerke waar sy weer die mes moes gebruik. Toe sy klaar was, het die vel omgedop, soos 'n nat sakkie vol vere in haar hand gelê. That evening she arrived home and hung the bird by its paws to slaughter it. She cut a circle on the paw side of the buttocks and began to pull down the tough skin easily, except over the wings, where she had to use the knife again. When she was done, the skin capsized like a wet bag full of feathers, and it lay in her hand. Die pyn van die middag se val was nog nie weg uit haar maag nie, maar sy was bly daaroor. Dalk sou die kind doodgaan. The pain of the afternoon's fall hadn't yet gone from her stomach, but she was glad of it. Perhaps the child would die. Maar nou het haar lyf oopgemaak, sodat die water moet kom en sy byt haar onderlip om nie te gil nie. Nie eens so wil sy die koms van die kind erken nie. Die vrouens by haar sien hoe sterk sy teen die pyn is en knik hulle koppe. Dit sou 'n skande wees om by die geboorte te skreeu. But now her body opened and the water came, and she bit her bottom lip not to scream. Not even she wants her child to arrive like that. The women saw how strong she was against the pain and nodded their heads. It would be a shame to scream at the birth. Daar brand kersse en 'n olielamp in die hut. Die vrou wat gehaal is om die kind aan te vat, staan op haar knieë langs Amazolo. Sy het die droë gras onder die slaapmat op die grond gegooi vir die bloed, water en die bloed. There were candles and an oil lamp burning in the hut. The woman who was taking the child stood on her knees next to Amazolo. She threw dry grass under the sleeping mat on the ground for the water and the blood. Effens eenskant sit die Isangoma Susiwe. Sy was die enigste een wat in die wagtyd met Amazolo gepraat het, en Amazolo het geweet, dit is omdat sy 'n Sangoma is. Sy hoef haar nie te steur aan die dinge wat vir gewone mense belangrik is en waaroor hulle beklei nie. Daarom dra sy 'n bishu soos 'n man en 'n skild en 'n assegai. Slightly to the side sat Isangoma Susiwe. She was the only one who spoke to Amazolo in the waiting period, and Amazolo knew it was because she was a Sangoma. She didn't have to bother with the things that are important to ordinary people and what they fight about. She wears an ibishu like a man with a shield and a spear.